Hello everyone, my name is Katie and today I'm going to tell you how I got stranded in Atlanta. So this is going to be a story time about my adventures to a concert to the ATLive Music Festival in Atlanta, Georgia. So basically I got tickets to see some of my favorite bands of all time. I got to see Greta Van Fleet, Cage the Elephant, and Metallica. So I formed like a mad obsession with Greta Van Fleet about 3 months ago. I saw a meme on TikTok of somebody making fun of the lead singer, like it was some sort of clip from Saturday Night Live.
See where we've been. Can't you hold my hand and stay a while?
A lot of people were making fun of it. They were making fun of the guy's mannerisms and the way that he sang and all this different stuff. And I watched the clip and I actually thought it was pretty cool. Like, I liked the way that his voice sounded. I liked his smile. I was like, let me check this band out and see what they're all about. So I went to YouTube and I watched the full Saturday Night Live performance of Greta Van Fleet, and I was hooked after that. So I bought tickets soon after and I realized that they were actually opening for Metallica, which is one of my all-time favorite bands, of course. Like literally since the womb I've been listening to Metallica, so it was the perfect ticket to get. A new band that I enjoyed, an old band that I enjoyed, and then Cage the Elephant I didn't really know a whole lot about, but I was still really excited to go and just hear all the live music. And it had been years since I've been to a concert at all, so it was the perfect experience. Post-COVID, post-vaccinations, I thought this would be a great way to kind of like get back into the world and have myself a good time. So for like 3 months straight, this concert is really all I talked about every single day. It's all I could think about. I was so excited this whole time. I spent 3 months just going down the Greta Van Fleet rabbit hole, becoming this like diehard fan. Like, y'all, it's embarrassing. I know every detail about this band at this point. I haven't fangirled this hard over a band in a really long time. It's kind of embarrassing. 24 years old and I'm acting like a One Direction fangirl. I was one of those back in the day too, but I just really love this band and I was just so excited, and the day had finally come. It was November 6th, it was the day of the show, and we were ready to make a drive down to Atlanta. So it was gonna be about a 4-hour drive for us, and that's really not so bad. Like, we do travel a lot, and we've driven like 10 hours, 11 hours to Chicago and Florida, so 4 hours really didn't seem like much. That's why I thought the Atlanta tickets would be pretty ideal. So we drove the 4 hours, and throughout the road trip it really went by fast, I think because I was so excited. And I spent the road trip just listening to songs from Greta Van Fleet and Metallica, kind of like preparing myself. And I also wanted to kind of get hubby hyped up because he knows some Metallica songs, and I felt like he would probably enjoy the Metallica part of the show the most, so I wanted to kind of get him prepared and like remind him of these songs that he knows. He's not really like a huge metal fan or rock fan or anything, but he does actually like some Metallica stuff, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna get him like prepared so he has a good time because I wanted us both to be like in the music and in the moment, you know. So we spent the road trip just listening to music and talking about what's gonna happen and all that stuff. And it was kind of crazy because we heard the news about the Travis Scott Astro World incident like on the way to the concert, which kind of freaked me out. I'm like, oh god, I hope we don't get into some crazy crowd. Like, music festivals can be insane sometimes. People can push you and they want to fight for a spot closer to the stage. We did have floor tickets, which is general admission, so it's basically first come, first serve. The first people to the stage get to see the singers and band up close, and then it's just that sort of thing. You gotta be there early. Like, there were fans that I follow on Twitter that were camping out from like 5 a.m. the day of the show outside of the arena. It was like 40 degrees Fahrenheit, that is, outside, so they were freezing cold, and these were Greta Van Fleet fans. They actually had some, these were female fans, by the way. They ran into some male Metallica fans who did not like that Greta Van Fleet fans were camping out to get a good spot in front of the stage. Apparently they like harassed them and threatened them as if the stage isn't huge and they all could have got a spot either way. My point is, people were camping out early. We couldn't really do that. We would have had to get a hotel the night before the show, which would have just costed us extra money, and we were already on like a tight budget for this trip anyways. So we just left that morning, and we were gonna get to Atlanta like a couple hours before the show, give ourselves some time to check into our hotel, I was gonna get dressed and do my hair and all of that stuff. So around the time we were about like 15 miles away from the hotel, our car starts making this squeaking noise, and hubby starts to kind of like freak out. He knew something was wrong with the car. He didn't know what the squeaking noise was coming from, but it was getting really loud, and we were starting to get worried. We were like, here we go. We're gonna get stranded in Atlanta, 300 miles away from home. It was gonna be bad. So we end up getting to the hotel, and as soon as we get out of the car, hubby starts opening the hood, checking everything, and he realizes there's a problem with the alternator on the car. Now, I'm not a car person, so I don't know every detail of what happened, but something was wrong with the alternator, and basically we couldn't start the car again to go to the show in like 2 hours. So while I was inside of the hotel checking in and getting ready and all of that stuff, hubby was outside trying to quickly fix the car. He is like sort of a handyman. He knows a lot about cars, so a lot of times he's able to at least rig something to get the car going, and that way we can leave. But that unfortunately was not possible this time. He didn't have much time. We were very pressed for time, and I was rushing around to do my makeup and my hair and get dressed, and I had all this anxiety and nervousness for the show anyways, and then now I didn't even know how we were going to get to the show. But thankfully I was able to call an Uber. This made it where we had to leave the hotel a little bit earlier than we planned, but it really sucked because not only were we not gonna be able to drive our own car back from the show now, like we would have to take an Uber both ways, I also had already paid for a parking ticket in advance. That way we'd have a good parking spot. It was gonna be so smooth sailing. We were gonna park, walk like a quarter mile to the arena, and then we were gonna leave and go straight back to our car and go home. I mean, go back to the hotel. It was gonna be so smooth sailing. But we ended up getting in the Uber and driving to the Mercedes Benz Stadium. Now let me point out, by the way, while we're talking about this stadium is massive. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. I think it's fairly new. I think they built it like 3 years ago. The past year it hasn't even been used because of COVID, so it was just a really nice new stadium, very nicely built. But there was like no time to think during all of this. Like we just had to kind of like call an Uber, rush in the Uber, and then we kind of sat there like, how the heck are we gonna get back from the venue? What are we gonna do about our car when we get back? Because we had to fix it before the next day when we check out at the hotel. So there was a lot of mixed emotions. Like my excitement for the show kind of took over everything else, and I was like, I'm gonna worry about this stuff later because I want to enjoy the moment right now. And hubby knew that I had been looking forward to this for so long, so we kind of just like let it slide and just got to the venue. So we get to the venue and our Uber brings us kind of far away from the arena. Like we had a little bit longer of a walk than we were going to originally. We went to like this weird parking garage area, and we had to walk up these like massive stairs to get like on top of the road. The road was like on this sort of overpass thing. It was very weird to walk to the arena. I'll just say that. But something awesome happened on the walk to the arena. I could hear Greta Van Fleet sound checking, which I thought was crazy because why would they be sound checking this soon before the show? I mean, the show started in like 30 minutes or something like that at this point. So I was like, why are they sound checking? And they were playing one of my favorite songs. I actually got to hear them play 2 songs from outside. You could just hear the echoes. Like the music is really loud inside that arena, so it was just echoing outside onto the streets. And I took dorky videos. You can hear me breathing heavy because we had just walked up a bunch of stairs and it was really cold out. My eyes were watering from the cold air. It was just crazy and overwhelming, but I was trying to record this sound check. I was just so happy. Greta Van Fleet sound checking built by nations, Mercedes Benz Stadium. And it was funny. I felt like I had already seen their concert and we hadn't even gone in yet. So I was like, okay, I'm good to go home. I heard them play. We got to the outside part of the arena up close and we realized the lines were massive. They had lines at like 4 different gates that you could enter. My ticket said to enter gate 1. So it took us a while to find gate 1. And when we got there, oh my goodness, there were so many people there. It was crazy. Like, I knew that there would be a lot of tickets sold for this event. I mean, clearly it's Metallica, so I expected it. But being there in person around that many people at once was weird, especially after COVID. I'm just not used to giant crowds anymore. So it was very strange seeing that many people in one place. And it was great. I love metal shows. I love just seeing all these passionate fans. You know, you had all the Metallica guys with their Metallica shirts and their vests with all the iron-on patches that you get at each show. Like, there were some people there that you can tell have been going on Metallica tours for like 30 years. Like, they had all the patches from over the years. And that was really cool to see. I saw a lot of Greta Van Fleet fangirls. I noticed a lot of their fans are like women and like hippies and stuff. Like, a lot of girls had on their bell-bottom pants with their go-go boots and stuff like that. It's funny because I'm not really a hippie type of Greta Van Fleet fan. I'm more of like the rock type, I guess. I don't know. There's like two different sides because some of their albums are more hippie-ish. Some of them are more rock and roll, you know. But I thought it was so funny just seeing all the different kinds of people there. Most people were there for Greta Van Fleet and Metallica, but I did hear a couple of people talking about Cage the Elephant, and I know they have like a cult following, like they're a pretty big band themselves. So it was just a cool experience waiting in line, and it didn't take us all that long to get into the building. Even though the lines were massive, it was going by really quickly. Like, it really was no problem at all. Security was kind of weird. Like, their website made it sound like security was going to be really tough to get through and like it was really strict, and they had a clear bag policy. I had to rig up myself a clear bag and make it where my bag was completely see-through. And I realized when we got there that they hardly even like checked bags or looked at you when you went through security, honestly. I mean, it's kind of a mess. I guess when there's that many people, it's hard to check everyone. And it wasn't even long before the show started, so I guess they were like in a hurry or something. They did make hubby take his boots off, actually. He had big boots on. They made him take those off, so I guess if they see something they think someone could be like hiding something bad in, they're gonna look. But people were sneaking in like drugs and alcohol and all this other stuff, which are supposed to be prohibited. I don't care personally. I would have snuck in a few fireball shots if I thought I could get away with it. But yeah, the security was kind of weird. And I'm so iffy about security stuff these days. Like, sometimes I hate strict rules, but then other times I'm like, I want it to be safe. I don't want to be locked in this giant building with all these people herded up like cattle and then someone does something crazy. I'm like paranoid about bad things happening. I'm not going to go into detail, but you guys know what I'm trying to say. Like, it's sketchy these days. I guess I should talk about what I was wearing. I didn't really get a lot of pictures or videos or anything, but I just wore one of my favorite dresses. It's like a black lace, like long sleeve lace dress, and it's really short. I actually ended up wearing black compression shorts underneath it because I knew I'd be putting my arms up a lot and jumping and stuff, which I did. And I didn't want to like show my butt, so I wore this short dress, and I had the devil ears. I wore them just to kind of keep the vibes in the video, just to show you guys what the vibes were. I wore these stupid devil ears. I don't know why. I don't know what got into me and made me want to wear these all of a sudden. Like, the night before the show, I was like, I need some sort of fun outfit to just take pictures in. So I wore my devil horns. And these boots, guys, I wore these boots. These were a lifesaver. Absolute lifesaver. Okay, first of all, they made me like 1.5 inches taller, which is a big deal. Okay, I'm like 5'6". People call me tall all the time. I don't freaking know why, because I'm pretty average for a woman, and like men are always taller than me. I'm usually the same height as women. Occasionally I'm taller than women, but it's one of those things. In big crowds, I'm not tall, so this helped me, give me like extra 1.5 inches of height, and it helped me more. I'll explain later. But I don't want anyone to call me tall ever again. So we go through security, we get through like the crowd, we go get our wristbands for the floor seating. It was really chaotic and not very organized, but we ended up getting our wristbands in time, and we walk out into the floor where the stage is, and it's massive in there. I mean, it's the middle of the arena, which is where the football field normally is. This stadium is usually used for the Atlanta Falcons. So you're pretty much just standing where the football field would be, and the stage is at the end of the field. So we walk in, and I notice Greta Van Fleet's set is already set up on the stage. So I'm like, oh my god, they're going first. Like, I did think that Cage the Elephant would go first. I didn't really know. I had just been guessing the whole time, but seeing their set the moment I walked in made it all real for me. I watch their YouTube videos all the time of their live performances, and I see this set all the time in YouTube videos, so seeing it in real life was crazy. They had like the white curtains and the cool ring lights, and just Sammy's piano and Danny's drum set, just all of it. It was crazy. So we walk in and see that. I start fangirling. And me and hubby make our way up to the crowd, and we were kind of far away from the stage, a little bit further than I wanted to be, but like I said, we didn't camp out early at all. We came there like right before the show started. It was just a matter of we didn't want to have to wait around outside. I didn't want to have to get a hotel the night before, none of that stuff. I felt like the only time I would ever really camp out for a Greta Van Fleet show is if they were headlining. I didn't want to go up against Metallica fans, okay? Metallica fans are hardcore, dedicated fans of 35, 40 years. Like, I'm not going to fight them for a spot at the barricade. I just wanted to see Greta Van Fleet in person, hear them in person. I'll have my time later to get like a barricade stage front row spot. So we were a little bit further from the stage than I really wanted to be, but it wasn't terrible. Like, I could still see a lot of people at the beginning were shorter than me. A lot of women were in front of me, and I could kind of peek through the taller people. I had a good line of sight. It was decent. But then once Greta Van Fleet came onto the stage, y'all, everybody's arms went up, phones went up, taking videos. I couldn't freaking see, like, hardly anything. I was on my tippy toes. Like, my neck muscles are so sore right now after the show from where I was just stretching my neck the whole time to see like this. So like I said, I don't want to be called tall ever again. So even in these boots that gave me extra height, I was struggling, okay? So that was just the beginning of the show. My first impression when I saw Greta Van Fleet walk on the stage was crazy. Like, I've watched these videos of these people for months now, and not to have a fangirl moment, but I couldn't believe they were real. It's kind of one of those things. You can't believe you're actually like watching the people that you've admired for so long, you know what I mean? So Jake walks out first, and I'm like, he was short. It was weird. Okay, so the whole joke on TikTok and stuff is like making fun of the lead singer for being short. He's like 5'5", kind of short for a dude, but what a lot of people don't know is the guitarist, Jake, is his twin brother. They're identical twins. So he was just as short. And I never really think of it that way, but he walked out on the stage and I was like, damn, he's short. It was such a weird first impression of seeing my favorite band. I don't know. So Jake walks out. Sammy walks out behind him and goes to his piano. Jake goes over to his spot on the right side of the stage. Danny comes out and goes to the drum set. And they start the intro to Heat Above, which is like one of their best songs. I freaking love that song. I was so hyped in that moment. It didn't feel real. I was literally levitating. Like, I don't even remember how I felt, to be honest with you. It was very strange hearing their songs in person for the first time. Like, the songs they were playing with their hands were filling my ears live. Like, it was just so strange. So then the singer Josh comes out. They start the song, everybody's going crazy, and I'm just stretching so hard to see. I do wish we were just a little bit closer. Like, I knew I wasn't going to get front row, but I was hoping to be just a little bit closer than I was. So throughout the show, they play a bunch of songs that I really love. They played a couple that I was surprised by that they never play. They played Caravel and Trip the Light, fantastic. Those are two songs I didn't expect them to play. I kind of had this set list planned in my head of what I thought they would play. I figured they would do songs that would appeal more to Metallica fans. So I was really, really excited that they played those two songs. Those are two of the good songs. And at this point in the show, there were like two men next to me. First of all, a lot of people were passing me to get in front of me. A lot of people pull the whole thing like, oh, I have a friend in the front that's waiting for me. They're obviously full of shit. Like, they don't have anybody in the front. But they just do that thing where they kind of zoom past you. And I don't know what it is about me that makes people think they could do that, but they always do it to me. But it was mostly women doing it, so it was like no one was really tall in front of me until these two men came in front of me and beside me, and they kind of blocked my view. And at that point, I couldn't even really see the band. Like, I tried to film some stuff with my phone, like above my head like this, so I figured whatever I couldn't see with my eyes, my phone would catch for later. I could see that. I didn't want to film the whole entire show just because I wanted to experience it like without my phone, but I did film a lot. Like every song I would at least film one part of it, that way I could just have it for my memories. They did have the big screens that you could see the band on. Like the cameraman did a really good job switching between each member, and you could see what was going on, like their faces, their instruments, like you could really tell what was happening. They had these screens everywhere, like one on the left side, one on the right side. They had them above you, like in the top of the arena. It was actually really well done. So that helped me see a little bit. And at one point when they played Trip the Light, hubby offered me to stand on his feet, and that way I could get a little taller because he had steel toe boots on. So I literally stood on top of his feet and got a few extra inches of height, and I could kind of see over these dudes at this point. And it was just crazy. It was just an awesome experience. Like overall, I still had a really good time. I could still see good enough to enjoy myself, and I was just jamming out and singing every word to every song. And it was really funny because you could tell who was there for Metallica and who wasn't. And a lot of the Metallica fans that started off sort of like quiet and like straight face, and they were just in line waiting to see Metallica, throughout the show for Greta Van Fleet, you could kind of see them start like bopping their heads and getting into the music. And then when Jake did his guitar solo, you could tell that they were sort of like bopping their heads, you know, feeling it. And I loved that so much. So I'm pretty sure the guys that got in front of me that I couldn't see were Metallica fans, but whatever. I was singing my heart out, and I kept joking that like I deserved to be in the front row because I was like the only person around me singing every word. There were definitely people in the crowd singing, but I was going hard. In the spot that I was standing, I was going pretty hard compared to everyone. So I didn't care though. I just live in the moment. I don't really care if people are judging me because I waited a long time for that, and it was great. And hubby did good like stopping people from pushing up against us too much. He said people were pushing on his back a lot. He stood behind me like the whole time, so he was sort of like my own barricade, like my own guard. And he did a good job just kind of like protecting me and letting me vibe and have a good time the whole show. And he ended up saying that he liked a lot of their set. He said he had a really good time during their set too, which is pretty cool because I don't think he knows much about them other than just the things that I've talked about, so I thought that was cool. But yeah, that's pretty much all for the Greta Van Fleet stuff. They did play most of the songs that I guess they would play. I'll put the set list here if anybody's wondering what they actually played. But they ended it with Highway Tune, and it felt like it ended really fast. Like once it ended and they left the stage, I was like, is that it? People started saying encore. They were like cheering encore, encore. But with a festival like this, they really pressed for time. They had only exactly 1 hour to play their songs, and they had to leave. Like they really couldn't even talk to the crowd a whole bunch like they normally do at their headlining shows. They're just really pressed for time. So it just felt like they came, they played, and they left, and it just felt too quick. It was like the quickest hour of my life. I'm very grateful that I got to see them in person, but man, it went by so fast. So after this, me and hubby actually decided to leave the crowd. We didn't want to stand in the crowd anymore. I was kind of okay with being further away during the Metallica part because, first of all, I knew that their music was going to be so loud that we could hear it really well throughout the whole stadium. Like the sound system was pretty good. I personally did not want to be in a big crowd or like a pit of any sort during Metallica because I know sometimes metal fans can be a little bit more wild than the Greta fans were. So we ended up walking out and we got ourselves some water at the concessions. We got some popcorn and we jammed out to Cage the Elephant for a while. And let me tell y'all, I don't know much about Cage the Elephant before this show, but the lead singer, like the front man, he was eccentric, let's just say that. He was feeling the vibes. I don't know if he was on something or if he was just high on life and the music, but it was impressive. Like, I do feel like, how do I word this? It was weird. I was kind of weirded out, but I liked him. I liked him overall. I feel like he was a good entertainer, and he had this little thing like where he started off the show with like this jumpsuit on and a bunch of accessories and like a mask, and slowly throughout the show he took off a piece of his clothing until the end he was almost naked, but it was pretty great. He brought some fans on stage, and I got to see some fans like dancing and hanging out with them. I think they had like the VIP passes or something, so that must have given them access for that. But that was a pretty fun one to watch, and of course when they played Ain't No Rest for the Wicked, the whole entire arena was singing it. You could hear the echoes of all the voices. Of course everybody knows that song. That song like took over the world the year that it came out, and I think like pretty much everyone on the planet knows that song. So that was cool watching them play that. They didn't play Cigarette Daydreams, which is one of the songs that I actually know by them, and I really like it. They didn't play it, unfortunately. They played something else that I know, but I couldn't remember the title right now. But it was pretty good. For me not knowing the band very well, I had a really good time. So at this point, we were standing in the very back of the floor. Like, there was a lot of open space next to like the merch stand and the concession stands. There was a lot of room, so we had plenty of room to just kind of like walk and dance and sing and just do whatever we wanted. So I really liked that for Metallica because I knew I was going to be going hard and I wanted the room to go hard. So they start out the show with this clip that plays from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It's an old western, and they did a cover a long time ago of The Ecstasy of Gold. It's a song from that movie, and they play that as their little intro. Like, there were these screens everywhere that were playing graphics throughout the entire set. It was actually really cool. But first it plays that clip, and then the Ecstasy of Gold plays, and then they come out on stage and Metallica starts with Whiplash, which is a classic, and then their entire set list was crazy. Like, a lot of the songs that I kept saying I hoped they played, they did, and it was amazing. Which Metallica has so many hit songs, they could have played pretty much anything and I would have been happy. I know most of their songs, at least most of the popular ones, so it was amazing. Me and hubby were getting into it. I was dancing and jumping and headbanging and just everything. Like, I was having the time of my life, y'all. On Instagram a few days before the show, I posted the SpongeBob levitating meme, going to heaven, and I was like, this is me if Metallica plays The Memory Remains at their show. And guess what they freaking played? They played The Memory Remains, and I looked at their set lists, like, online. There's like this website that tells you what the common songs that bands play are, and The Memory Remains is not always played at their shows. It's like half the time they play it. So I was so happy they played it, and it's because of the part, I have a bunch of videos of me singing this part of the song with the crowd. They always let the crowd sing along to The Memory Remains, and it's so beautiful just hearing all these voices collectively sing this song. It sounded like everyone in the place was singing. It was beautiful. And that's why I wanted them to play it so bad, and I got it on video. I was dorking out and singing it. But it was so magical. And there were a lot of cool moments like that, obviously. Like, during Sad But True, everybody lost their shit. Like, it was crazy. Of course, Sad But True is one of my favorite Metallica songs. James did a really good job talking to the crowd during the show and getting people hyped. He knew everyone's favorite was Sad But True. I have clips of him saying funny things like that.
What is your favorite Metallica song? Sad But True! Mine too. Good thing we're playing it next. I'm your dream, make you real. I'm your eyes when you must steal. I'm your pain when you can't feel.
filmed a lot of the Metallica stuff. Same thing as Greta Van Fleet. Like every song nearly, I would just at least film a little bit of it. Some of them more than others. I got hubby to film me at some parts so I could kind of like get myself in the shot with the band. Of course the band was like pretty far away from us at that point. But I'm telling you guys, those big screens really helps. You can feel like you're watching them front row. And just hearing their music fill my ears was enough. Like I was just having the time of my life. So of course Sad But True was great. For Whom the Bell Tolls. One by Metallica. That was hubby's song that he wanted to hear the most. He loves One. He loves that song. We listen to it a lot anyways. And like I said, he's not a big metal fan, but he was actually really excited to hear that song, and they played it, of course. There were a couple of moments where I was sort of like emotional and just taken back by how beautiful these songs were, and like how I was really here experiencing this after how hard life has been the last year or 2 years with COVID and just everything. It was just so great to be in a place where I was enjoying myself and living in the moment and not worried about anything else at that time. So Metallica played Fade to Black, which is a song that I've always loved literally since I was a kid, and that sort of made me emotional. I caught myself just sort of in a trance, like watching the screens and watching James and Kirk's fingers just on the guitars. Like, I don't know what it is about the guitar in that song, it really gets me, and the lyrics just make me emotional, and it was beautiful. So they played that, and then Nothing Else Matters, of course, made me super emotional. Oh, by the way, they had some really cool like pyrotech. They had a lot of fire and flames and fireworks, and that was so cool. And for the encore, they actually ended up playing Nothing Else Matters and Enter Sandman back to back, which is normally what they do. I kind of figured that out from watching videos online. I figured out that they usually do that, so I expected it. But they played Nothing Else Matters, which, like I said, was an emotional, magical experience for me. And then they played Enter Sandman, which is literally just the classic Metallica song, and they had some really cool fireworks during that part. And I got some cool videos of me jumping to the music, and it's cool. You can see the fireworks in the back. Forgot to say, just before the encore, like, they walked off stage and kind of like pretended they were done. They usually do that, and the lights go down and the whole crowd does like a light ceremony. Everybody turns on their phone flashlights and, you know, waves them around, and Guys, this was like one of the most beautiful sights I've seen in a long time. Just seeing everyone coming together and lining up their stuff. It was so beautiful seeing all those people in this massive arena there for the same reason, enjoying the music and trying to get Metallica to come back, which clearly they were. But that was a beautiful moment. And then they come out for the encore, like I said, Nothing Else Matters, and Enter Sandman. And then towards the very end of Enter Sandman, I knew that it was about to be over. And we were really far from the stage anyways. I knew I wasn't going to be catching a guitar pick or a drumstick or anything. I knew that it was about to get crazy and everybody would be walking out of the stadium. So me and hubby both sort of looked at each other and agreed we were going to try to get out of there before the crowd starts coming. So I took a little video of me walking out at the very end of Enter Sandman and I'm like waving bye to the crowd, you know. I wanted to get the heck out of there before the crowd got too heavy. Part of me did want to stick around and see if I could meet any of the band members, and come to find out, I watched a lot of TikToks later and a lot of people were meeting Greta Van Fleet like in the arena, in the hallways. I think like outside of their dressing rooms or something like that. I don't know exactly where they were in the building, but people did wait until after the show to meet the band members and stuff, and I was so sad that I missed out on that. But now that I'm looking back, I think it would have made the night a lot more difficult than it was. We had a really hard night, which I'm going to get to, but I think it worked out that I didn't wait around. But I do wish I could have met some of Greta Van Fleet. I really do admire them so much. They are amazing. Like, they're totally reviving that genre of music. Like, they are the next, like, rock and roll gods, you know. And like Jake the guitarist, he's like the next guitar hero. Like, he's gonna be a legend one day. He got nominated for Guitarist of the Year by Guitar World, and I actually think he might win it. But anyways, I knew I wouldn't meet Metallica. They're not gonna just be walking around in the hallways. They're too big for that. But anyways, this was the moment that we left the arena and the crowds were starting to get pretty big outside pretty fast. And it was time for me and hubby to go find ourselves an Uber or a taxi or just anything. So we asked the staff where we could find like a ride share area or like a taxi pickup area. They directed us over there and we made our way there. And this is where the night just went sour. It was so hard. Like, I had come down from this high of just seeing my favorite bands and just being so excited to realizing like, oh my God, I'm screwed. So the crowds were massive. There weren't enough taxis to go around. It was like impossible to get a taxi. Okay, there were people all over the sidewalks. It was insane. We were going to call an Uber and we had two separate problems. So one problem was the Ubers were price gouging and it costed $170 to get an Uber to go back to our hotel, like 10 miles. It was crazy. And on top of that, both mine and hubby's phones were dying and I forgot to bring my battery pack. Well, I didn't really forget to bring it. I thought I wasn't allowed to bring it because, like I said, their security on their website seemed really strict and I thought they might not let me bring in this battery pack. So we didn't have anything to charge our phones with. Both of our phones were almost completely dead and we thought we were going to be stranded on the streets without a ride with dead phones. It was horrible. So first of all, we couldn't afford to get this Uber because we had already known that we were going to have to spend a lot of money to get our car fixed the next day. That's something we had already thought of and we were panicking about. We were like, how the hell are we going to get home? We don't have gas money. Blah, blah, blah. That was a struggle on its own. So we're like, we can't pay $170 to get back. Our phones are going to die anyways if we try to call this Uber. Like, it was that bad. We were on like 3% battery. So hubby and I decided to start walking sort of away from the crowd a little bit, like a mile, 2 miles up the road. We were going to try to see if we could get some sort of taxi to pick us up on the side of the road. We figured if we sort of beat the crowd further up the road, the taxis would see us first and pick us. But the walk was miserable, guys. First of all, it's hard walking through the streets of downtown Atlanta with all those people there. It's kind of sketchy. We're not city people. We hate walking in the cities, honestly, because you run into some weird people. I was out there looking like a hooker with my short dress and my red lipstick, y'all. I had a drunk guy come up to me with my horns. He was like, "You're the devil." I had so many people comment on my outfit, by the way, but I just didn't want to deal with like drunk people, homeless people, whatever else, people out there trying to rob people because they know there's a big event going on and there's a lot of money around. I don't know. I just had bad vibes while I was there. I just realized that my hair is like this. Has it been that way the whole video? Whatever. Anyway, so I was out there on the streets looking like a hooker. And at one point, me and hubby sort of had to like step off of a sidewalk and walk through some like trees and bushes and stuff because it was just too crowded. Like I said, these boots saved me because I stepped in a giant mud puddle. Like both mine and hubby's feet sank like to here. Our feet sank in mud and it was so scary. So we were just walking and struggling and trying to get ahead of everyone and far away from everyone. Finally, we get to a spot where there's less people. There's a gas station next to it. And this is the thing. We didn't have charged phones. And okay, if this happened like where I live in like Greenville, Tennessee, you could ask somebody on the side of the road, like, hey, can I use your phone to call an Uber or whatever else? And like people would give you their phone and help you out, or they would do something. Some people would give you a ride to where you need to be, and it's no big deal. You can just give them some gas money, sometimes maybe not even. In the city, things are different. You can't really just ask people for help, especially when there's that many people around, a lot of commotion. People either don't want to help you because they don't want to get involved with random people they don't know, or it's just too chaotic and they're wanting to get, like, mind their own business and get back to where they're going. So we couldn't really ask anybody for help. This guy actually comes up to us and he's in the same situation. He's like, I need your help. My phone is broken. My friends are calling me and I can't answer. And we were like, dude, our phones are dead. Like, same boat. He was in the same boat as us. Couldn't find a ride. Couldn't find his friends. So I think a lot of people were struggling. I wish that we had our car so we wouldn't have had to worry about getting a ride. But we thought we were going to be stranded on the streets of Atlanta in really cold weather. But then finally, oh my gosh, we waved down people for so long. We waved down one taxi and he wasn't even really a taxi. I don't think he was licensed or anything. He just had his GPS open and he was like, 120. He's like, I'll take 120. And I'm like, I'm not paying 120 to go home. Like, we couldn't at that point. We could not pay $120 to get home at that point because of our car situation. We had to have money for that. And of course money to get home and whatever else. So luckily we passed up this one guy and we found another taxi. I mean, his car had like taxi stuff on it. It didn't really seem that legit, but he told us $60 to go where we needed to go. I was hesitant to get in, but me and hubby both were just like, okay, we got to do this. We're probably not going to get a much better deal than $60. That was half of what the last guy said. And the guy had a taxi car, so we were like, let's just get in. And he ended up taking us back to the hotel and things worked out, thankfully. It was really stressful for a while, but it did work out. We got back to the hotel and then hubby goes straight back to working on the car and trying to figure out what's wrong with it. And he kind of has to come up with like an action plan of how the hell we're going to get home the next day. All we knew is we had a hotel for that night and we could sleep and just see what happens the next day. For a while, hubby thought he was going to pull an all-nighter and just work on the car all night. He was outside for a couple of hours after we got back, and I was just kind of sitting in there feeling bad because there's nothing I could do to help him. He was out there in the cold with under the hood of the car, and I just felt so bad. I got on Instagram and sort of filmed a little like after show vlog of how I felt. I was zoned out. I was on a high. I felt like nothing even really happened. It all felt like this big fever dream. Like I felt like I didn't even really see it happen, if that makes sense. Like specifically with Greta Van Fleet, I feel like I never saw them live. I just feel like it was fake. It was a video or something. It just doesn't feel real still to this day. Like this was my second time seeing Metallica, so it was a little bit different. I was just more happy and excited and just in the moment, but the Greta Van Fleet stuff was weird. Like I have like post-concert depression right now because I'm sad that it's over. It went by too fast, but it kind of feels like it never happened. Like I can't wait to see them again and go on like a headlining show and hopefully take it in better next time. But that's how I felt in the hotel while hubby was outside. And eventually hubby comes back into the hotel room and decides he's just gonna sleep, and he had somewhat of a plan of how he was gonna get the car fixed the next day. So we sleep, we actually get some pretty good rest. Hubby wakes up a few hours before checkout time and he decides to walk to a nearby AutoZone. Now granted, we are really lucky there was an AutoZone nearby and he was able to get the parts he needed to come back and fix the car. It was like heaven. Okay, I can't believe, first of all, I'm so lucky I have a handyman who can fix his own shit, because a lot of men sadly don't know how to do that stuff. I don't know how to either, so I'm not coming for y'all, but it's just crazy how he knows how to fix things and he's always figuring it out for us. So he went and got the parts, fixed it. It was a lot cheaper than like getting a mechanic or something to fix it. You still have to buy the parts and stuff, but you don't have to pay for the labor for the people fixing it. And I will say, I wish I would have been more prepared for something like this to happen, for something to go wrong, because we were broke at this point. We didn't have any money. We didn't even have gas money to get home after everything, after paying for extra transportation and car parts and just whatever else. It ended up costing us a lot more than we thought it would, and we were basically screwed, but at least the car was getting fixed. And this was like a couple hours before checkout, so we had time to properly like get dressed, take showers, pack up our stuff. It wasn't as stressful as we thought it was going to be the night before, but we ended up checking out, and y'all, a friend of mine came through. I told them what was going on and that we were stranded in Atlanta and we didn't have gas money to get home, and my friend was so gracious and sent me money to get home through PayPal. Y'all, it was like a life-saving moment for me. We were so grateful because we thought, like, we did get our car fixed and we were like, yeah, we can make it home, but we don't have the money to buy the gas, and gas was more expensive in Atlanta too, so just everything was just hectic. But we did end up being able to drive home, and we were no longer stranded in Atlanta. So I know it's like a chaotic, wild ride. But I was really, really sad after the show. I was stressed out, and there was a moment where I did cry a little bit. We were just frustrated, didn't know how we were going to get home. It was kind of scary being in the city, stranded like that, not knowing who will help you, who's going to hurt you. It does feel scary sometimes. There's some sketchy people on the streets. We had dead phones, and just everything was just, we were risking it. It was a sketchy trip, and it's sad because I had planned this trip for a few months, and I had saved up some of my own money, and I was really, really trying my best to be able to afford to go to this show. Like, it was $200 a ticket because of Metallica, you know, those are high ticket prices, and it was in this big arena, so it was expensive to buy the tickets. And then I had to make sure I had money saved up for gas and food and parking and all of that. And I was really proud because I actually was able to scrap up the change to afford the trip and actually go and enjoy it. I got a really good hotel. It wasn't some crappy hotel in a sketchy area. It was like a Courtyard Marriott hotel. It's really nice, clean, no bed bugs, none of that shit. Like, sometimes it's like that when you go to places in the city, but we got a good hotel. I was so happy that we were able to do all of that. And then for something to go wrong with, like, our car literally had problems within a few miles of us getting to the hotel. Like, I couldn't believe our luck. Like, our luck was really bad, but it all worked out. It worked out. It could have been much worse. I still was able to go to the show. Thank God. At first I was worried that we wouldn't even be able to get to the show. Thank God Uber exists and everything. That was life-saving. And I still had an amazing time. So, I don't know. I don't know why I wanted to make this story time. I just really wanted to talk about my experience and sort of document it to the world. And this is gonna be like an hour-long video, and I don't even give a shit. Like, I'm so happy. At the time of my life, I'm a big heavy metal fan, a big rock and roll fan, and it was just great to kind of like become myself again. Like, this used to be a thing that I did a lot when I was younger, and it was nice to experience it again. And this is the first time I've been to a concert with my husband, and it was really cool to just like bring him into that part of my world, you know. Like, this is the kind of stuff I'm really passionate about. And after seeing my guitar lord, I don't want to call him like a god or anything, but Kirk Hammett from Metallica is one of my childhood inspirations. I've always been inspired by him, always loved him and his work, and seeing him play his songs in real life was amazing. And then Jake Kiska from Greta Van Fleet is going to be like the next guitar lord too. You know, so after watching them do all of that, it made me want to like pick up the guitar and start playing again. I'm thinking about getting myself an acoustic guitar and learning on that first, and then moving to electric. I used to dabble in that stuff when I was younger, but I never really like stuck to it. Same thing with like piano. I'd like to get more into that, but it was just good to be able to enjoy music in the way that I like enjoying it again. It's been a while. So I guess that's all for my story time. Thank God we weren't stranded in Atlanta. I had an amazing night, and Greta Van Fleet just announced their own headlining tour for 2022, and the pre-sale for tickets happened today. I'm hoping to be able to go to one of their headlining shows next year. They're actually doing a tour with Metallica all throughout 2022 as well in South America. I probably won't go to any of those, but I'm already like planning my next show. I just want to follow Greta Van Fleet around the world. And hell, maybe Metallica and someone else. I'd like to see Ghost as well. Ghost is one of my favorite bands. Like, System of a Down will be in LA in February 2022. I freaking want to see System of a Down. They're iconic. One of my favorites ever. So there's just, I'm making too many plans. But I do enjoy making like travel content, and I wanted to film more things on this trip to Atlanta, but with all the chaos and how everything worked out, I had a lot less time and energy and phone battery to film than I thought I was going to. So I'm glad that I got to experience everything, and I'm glad I was able to sit down and do this story time. Thank you guys for sitting here and watching me talk your heads off about music and my experience, but thank you so much for being here. I want to make more videos like this in the future about the trips that I go on and my experiences and what they're like and just everything like that. So think of it as like a travel journal, but on YouTube in video format. But anyways, I guess I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video right here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Leave me a comment down below and let me know, like, what's your favorite concert you've ever been to and all of that. Make sure you subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I will see you next time. Bye!